Unit 12, IELTS Test Practice. Section 3. You will hear two people discussing the life of an artist. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Radio Art Club. With us in the studio is Martin Wade, who is an art dealer, and he's here to talk to us about a man called John Gould. Welcome, Martin.
Good evening.
John Gould, if I'm right, was known as the Birdman. But who was he really?
Well, Gould was a man of many parts. I suppose that first and foremost he was an artist. But he also had a keen eye for business, so we could also call him a businessman. And as well as that, he was a scientist.
He studied birds, didn't he?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So we've got an artist, a businessman and a scientist all rolled into one. And why is he famous?
Well, predominantly because he produced the greatest collection of drawings of Australian birds ever.
Can you tell us about his life? What kind of a man was he?
Now let's see. He was born in England in 1804. And he lived for 76 years, so he had a comparatively long and productive life. He had no formal education, and when he was a young man in the 1820s, he worked as a gardener in Kew Gardens in London. And then, because of his interest in animals, he was made curator of a museum. In fact, the Zoological Museum in London.
Right, so he had quite a few interests.
Absolutely. He and his wife together. They were both very interested in the discovery of new species of animals.
So when did he visit Australia?
Well, in 1838, Gould and his wife and their eldest son sailed from England, leaving their 3 youngest children behind with the grandparents.
Gracious.
They travelled around extensively and, although they were only there for 2 years, Gould discovered many new species and he also named them.
Yes, he played a significant role, didn't he?
The family returned to England in August 1840 and took with them hundreds of specimens of animals for their great work, which was still to be produced. In fact, it took them 8 years to produce the full work, which was completed in 1848 and published under the simple name of Birds of Australia.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.